Let go of these 8 things for a peaceful life after 70. Buddhism. As we grow older, life offers us the chance to step back, reflect, and focus on what truly matters. Turning 70 is not just a milestone, but a golden opportunity to prioritize joy, simplicity, and fulfillment. Yet, many of us unknowingly carry physical and emotional baggage that weighs us down. Imagine how freeing it would be to let go of unnecessary burdens, opening your heart and home to peace. In this video, we'll explore 8 things to release for a lighter, happier life. So grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's dive into this transformative journey together. Before we begin, remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more inspiring content from Quiet Wisdom. Let's get started. 1. Physical clutter. Take a moment to look around your home. Do you see shelves filled with knickknacks, closets bursting at the seams, or a basement packed with forgotten belongings? These objects often hold sentimental value. A chair passed down from family, letters from a loved one, or clothes that remind you of your youth. While these items may once have been treasures, they can silently transform into burdens. Physical clutter is more than just things taking up space. It's a reflection of the mental and emotional weight we carry. Each item you own tells a story. And while some stories uplift you, others anchor you to the past in ways that no longer serve you. That dress you haven't worn in years, or those chipped plates gathering dust, they're not just objects. They're reminders of what no longer aligns with your present self. Letting them go is not an act of forgetting. It's an act of honoring your journey while embracing the now. After 70, ask yourself, does this add value to my life today? Keep the photo albums that make you smile, the cherished heirlooms that spark joy, and the books that still inspire. But release the rest, the stacks of old magazines, unused kitchenware, and outdated clothes that no longer reflect your needs or desires. The act of decluttering is like pruning a tree. It allows your environment to breathe and grow in harmony with who you are today. Start small. Begin with a single drawer, a shelf, or a box in the attic. Hold each item and ask yourself if it brings joy or serves a purpose. If the answer is no, let it go with gratitude for the role it once played in your life. Imagine how much lighter and freer you'd feel, stepping into a space that truly reflects your essence. A decluttered home becomes a sanctuary, a place where peace resides and creativity flourishes. And here's the beauty of this process. Your unused items can find a second life. A young couple just starting out, a family facing hard times, or a charitable organization can breathe new purpose into what once sat collecting dust in your home. Isn't it remarkable to think that an item you no longer need can spark joy or provide comfort for someone else? This cycle of giving transforms decluttering into an act of compassion, connecting your life with others in meaningful ways. Moreover, decluttering offers a metaphorical lesson. It teaches us to let go of what we cannot control and to focus on what truly matters. The physical act of releasing items mirrors the mental act of releasing worries and regrets. Both pave the way for a life filled with clarity and contentment. By embracing this practice, you're not just tidying up your living space, you're creating a canvas for the next chapter of your life. One painted with simplicity, intention, and peace. So, why wait? Begin this transformative journey today, and step into the serenity that comes from letting go. 2. Toxic relationships. Not all relationships are meant to last. As we age, we realize that our time and energy are precious commodities. It's time to reflect on the connections in your life. Are there people who uplift you, who make you feel seen and valued? Or are there those who drain your energy, leave you feeling small, or stir up negativity? A toxic relationship can take many forms. The friend who constantly complains but never asks how you're doing, the family member whose words sting more than soothe, or even a distant acquaintance who brings unnecessary drama. These individuals often operate as shadows in your life, always present but never contributing to the light. They may not always appear malicious, but their constant negativity, criticism, or emotional demands quietly take their toll on your well-being. Walking away or setting boundaries doesn't mean you're abandoning them. It means you're prioritizing your peace. After all, loving yourself enough to protect your energy is not selfish, it's necessary. Think of it like tending a garden. You wouldn't allow weeds to choke out the beauty of your flowers. In the same way, removing toxic relationships gives your positive connections room to thrive. But letting go is not always easy, is it? It may require courage to confront years of habit, obligation, or guilt. Perhaps it's a longtime friend you've outgrown, or a family member whose presence has become more harmful than healing. Whatever the case, it's essential to approach the process with compassion, for yourself and for them. Acknowledge the role they once played in your life, but gently release what no longer serves you. Picture this: a life surrounded by laughter, meaningful conversations, and quiet companionship. Imagine waking up each day feeling lighter, unburdened by the weight of unhealthy dynamics. That's the gift you give yourself when you release toxic relationships. It's an act of love for yourself and for the life you've worked so hard to build. It's also worth noting that creating distance doesn't always mean severing ties completely. Sometimes it's about redefining the relationship, setting boundaries, limiting interactions, or shifting the tone of your engagement. For example, you might decide to steer conversations toward neutral topics, or choose to spend time together in group settings rather than one-on-one. In Buddhism, there is a teaching about equanimity, finding balance and peace amid life's ups and downs. Letting go of toxic relationships embodies this principle. It's about recognizing that not all connections are meant to endure, and that true peace often comes from choosing the company of those who uplift and inspire. Ultimately, the relationships you nurture should reflect the values and joy you want in your life. You've earned the right to spend your golden years surrounded by those who truly see and appreciate you. So, take that brave step. Release the ties that bind you to unhappiness, and embrace the freedom to cultivate relationships that bring light, laughter, and love into your life. 3. Unnecessary responsibilities. For much of our lives, responsibilities define us, but after 70, it's time to reevaluate. Do these responsibilities still bring joy and purpose, or have they quietly turned into burdens? Perhaps you've been the family's problem solver, the keeper of long-standing traditions, or the caretaker of a sprawling garden that now feels more overwhelming than rewarding. These roles, while once fulfilling, may no longer align with the life you wish to lead today. Letting go doesn't mean neglecting what matters. It means redistributing your energy toward the things that resonate most deeply with your heart. It's about acknowledging that your needs have evolved and that it's perfectly okay to shift focus. Consider downsizing a large home to something cozier, passing on certain family duties to younger generations, or even simplifying your daily routines. Each of these steps, while seemingly small, can bring immense relief and freedom. Imagine the lightness of waking up without a long list of obligations hanging over your head. Instead of feeling bound by tasks, you can choose how to spend your day, whether it's losing yourself in a captivating book, enjoying a gentle stroll through nature, or sharing meaningful moments with loved ones. These are the experiences that truly nourish the soul. In Buddhism, there's a teaching about the middle way, finding balance in all things. This philosophy can be a guiding principle as you navigate letting go of unnecessary responsibilities. It's not about abandoning your commitments entirely. Rather, it's about finding harmony between fulfilling obligations and honoring your personal peace. Letting go of excess responsibilities also creates space for self-discovery. Perhaps you'll uncover a hidden passion or rekindle an old hobby that once brought you joy. By lightening your load, you're giving yourself the precious gift of time. Time to explore, to reflect, and to simply be. So take a moment to assess your life. Where can you step back? What can you release to create space for what truly matters? As you let go, remember that this is not an act of selfishness. It's an act of wisdom and self-care. You've carried so much for so long. Now is the time to set some of it down and walk forward with a lighter heart. 4. Negative self-talk and regrets. Life is a mosaic of triumphs and mistakes, woven together into a tapestry that tells your unique story. Yet how often do we find ourselves fixated on the flaws in the design, moments of regret, missed opportunities, or words we wish we could take back? These whispers of self-criticism can grow loud, stealing the joy of the present and clouding the beauty of the life you've lived. But there is a path forward, one that invites us to embrace kindness toward ourselves and let go of the burdens of the past. Forgive yourself. This is where the healing begins. Remember, mistakes do not define your worth. They are stepping stones on the journey of growth. Each decision you've made, each experience you've lived, has added depth and resilience to the person you are today. Take a moment to reflect on the courage it took to face life's challenges and the strength you've gained from overcoming them. Celebrate these victories, no matter how small they may seem, for they are the threads of wisdom that enrich your tapestry. In Buddhism, there is a teaching about the impermanence of all things, a reminder that life flows like a river, ever-changing and impossible to grasp. Regrets anchor us to the past, but by releasing them, we free ourselves to float with the current of the present moment. Instead of dwelling on what could have been, turn your focus to what is. This is where life unfolds, in the laughter of loved ones, the warmth of the sun on your skin, or the quiet peace of a morning meditation. Cultivate practices that nurture mindfulness and self-compassion. Journaling can be a powerful tool, allowing you to release your thoughts onto paper and find clarity in the process. Meditation offers a space to sit with your emotions, acknowledging them without judgment and gently letting them go. Even a simple walk in nature can remind you of life's beauty and your place within it. These small acts create a sanctuary of peace within your heart, one that no regret can penetrate. And what of the inner critic? That persistent voice that insists you're not enough or that you should have done better. It's time to silence it, not with anger, but with understanding. Would you speak to a dear friend in the same harsh tones you use on yourself? Replace those critical words with affirmations of love and encouragement. You deserve the same compassion you so freely offer others. Letting go of regrets and self-criticism is not about erasing the past. It's about transforming your relationship with it. See your mistakes as teachers and your regrets as reminders of your capacity to feel deeply and care deeply. By shifting your perspective, you reclaim the narrative of your life as one of growth, resilience, and love. As you release the weight of negative self-talk, imagine the lightness that will follow. Picture yourself walking through a field, unburdened and free, the horizon wide open before you. This is the gift you give yourself when you choose to let go. You create space for joy, peace, and the vibrant possibilities of the present. After all, this moment, right here, right now, is yours to embrace fully. 5. Unhealthy habits. Our bodies have carried us through decades of experiences, serving as steadfast companions on the journey of life. Yet, like any trusted partner, they require care, attention, and gratitude in return. Unfortunately, unhealthy habits often creep in unnoticed, quietly chipping away at our vitality. Whether it's neglecting regular exercise, indulging in processed foods, or allowing stress to fester, these choices can take a toll over time. But here's the beauty of life. It's never too late to change. Each new day offers a chance to begin anew, to treat your body with the kindness and respect it deserves. Start with small, intentional steps. Perhaps it's choosing a nourishing breakfast of fresh fruits and whole grains, taking a gentle walk in the morning sun, or replacing an hour of news watching with uplifting music or a favorite book. These seemingly minor changes, when practiced consistently, create a ripple effect, enhancing not only your physical health, but also your mental and emotional well-being. It's important to remember that seeking support is not a sign of weakness, but a mark of wisdom. A doctor, a nutritionist, or even a supportive friend can provide the guidance and accountability needed to stay on track. Together, they can help you craft a lifestyle that honors your unique needs and aspirations. Beyond physical habits, consider the role of emotional and mental routines in your life. Are you holding on to worry, isolating yourself, or allowing negativity to dominate your thoughts? These habits can be as detrimental as an unhealthy diet. To counteract them, embrace practices that nurture your spirit. Meditation, journaling, or simply sitting quietly in nature can help center your mind and restore a sense of calm. Cultivate gratitude by reflecting on the blessings in your life, however small they may seem. In Buddhism, there's a teaching that reminds us of the interconnection between the mind and body. When one thrives, the other follows. By letting go of unhealthy habits, you pave the way for harmony within yourself. Imagine waking up each day feeling energized and capable, ready to embrace the joys of life with open arms. And as you embark on this journey of renewal, be gentle with yourself. Change takes time, and setbacks are part of the process. Celebrate small victories, a healthier meal, a peaceful moment of reflection, or an extra step taken. These moments are not just achievements, they are affirmations of your commitment to yourself. Picture a life where your habits align with your highest values, where every choice you make contributes to your well-being and happiness. This is the gift you give yourself by releasing what no longer serves you and embracing what nourishes your body, mind, and soul. Let this be your time to thrive, to live fully and vibrantly, honoring the incredible journey that has brought you to this moment. 6. Outdated beliefs. Throughout life, we accumulate beliefs, rules of thumb, lessons learned, and cultural norms that guide our decisions. These beliefs, while once useful, can sometimes outlive their purpose and quietly turn into barriers. You may have told yourself, "I'm too old to learn something new," or "change is too hard at this age." Such thoughts, repeated often enough, become like invisible chains, anchoring you to a version of yourself that no longer fits the person you've become. The truth is, growth doesn't stop with age. Life is an ever-unfolding journey, and every moment offers an opportunity to redefine who you are. Challenge those outdated beliefs. What if you could start painting, learn a new language, or finally write that memoir you've always dreamed of? Each new skill or hobby you explore breathes fresh energy into your days and reminds you that possibility is timeless. Consider this: when a tree grows, it doesn't cling to last year's leaves. It lets them fall, making room for new growth. Similarly, letting go of outdated beliefs allows your mind and spirit to flourish. Start small. Replace "I can't" with "I'll try." Swap "it's too late" with "now is the perfect time." These shifts in mindset are seeds that grow into a more fulfilling, expansive life. Embracing change can be transformative, opening doors to experiences you never imagined. Perhaps you've resisted technology, thinking it's for the younger generation. Yet, many in their 70s and beyond have discovered the joy of connecting with loved ones through video calls or exploring interests through online courses. By stepping into the unknown, you tap into the vast potential within you. In Buddhist philosophy, there's a teaching about the beginner's mind, a mindset of openness, eagerness, and lack of preconceptions, much like that of a child experiencing the world for the first time. Cultivating this perspective can turn every day into an adventure. Instead of fearing change, approach it with curiosity and wonder. Imagine the freedom of living without the weight of should and must. Picture yourself waking up each morning with a sense of excitement for what the day might bring, unburdened by outdated notions of who you're supposed to be. By releasing these old beliefs, you honor the person you are today, a person shaped by wisdom, resilience, and the courage to grow. And remember, it's never about erasing your past. It's about integrating its lessons and moving forward with lightness and grace. The journey of self-discovery doesn't end with age, it deepens. So take a deep breath and step into the unknown. The path ahead is as vast and beautiful as you allow it to be. 7. Financial worries that no longer apply. For decades, financial discipline likely shaped your life. Careful budgeting, saving for the future, and making sacrifices to ensure stability. Now, as you settle into this beautiful phase, it's time to ask yourself, are my financial worries still serving a purpose, or are they holding me back from truly enjoying the present? For many, habits of frugality and fears of scarcity linger long after the need for them has passed. These habits, though well-intentioned, can quietly rob you of peace. Trust in the preparation and planning that brought you here. If you've carefully managed your finances, allow yourself the freedom to reap the rewards. Money, at its core, is not meant to sit idle. It's a tool, a bridge to experiences and comforts that enrich your life. Think of it not as something to hoard, but as a resource to create memories, foster connections, and nurture joy. Imagine this: treating yourself to a comfortable chair that invites hours of reading, sharing a delightful meal with friends at a favorite cafe, or gifting a cherished family member something meaningful. These acts are not indulgences. They are investments in happiness and legacy. When you allow yourself to embrace these moments, you open the door to a life of abundance, not in terms of wealth, but in terms of fulfillment. Still, it's wise to balance enjoyment with mindfulness. Working with a trusted financial advisor can help ensure you're on solid ground giving you confidence to spend without fear. Clarity replaces anxiety, empowering you to make thoughtful decisions based on facts rather than lingering doubts. It's also worth reflecting on the emotional weight of financial worries. Sometimes, these fears whisper, "What if? What if there's an emergency? What if I run out?" But consider this: holding on to these thoughts too tightly often prevents you from living fully. Remember, life is precious, and the years ahead are yours to savor. By releasing these anxieties, you create space for gratitude and joy. In Buddhism, there's a teaching that emphasizes impermanence, the idea that nothing is fixed and everything flows. Apply this wisdom to your relationship with money. It comes and goes, serves its purpose, and moves on. The true wealth lies not in your bank account, but in your ability to find contentment and generosity in the present moment. Picture yourself free from the constant hum of financial caution. Envision a life where choices are made from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. A life where each purchase, experience, or gesture reflects your values and aspirations. This is not about reckless spending. It's about living in alignment with your heart's desires. So, let go of the fears that no longer serve you. Trust in the journey that has brought you here, and allow yourself the gift of living fully. After all, these years are not merely about surviving. They are about thriving, about embracing every moment with open arms and a light heart. Let this be the chapter where you honor the wealth of your experiences, the richness of your relationships, and the abundance of joy that surrounds you. 8. Fear of change. Change, it can feel daunting, especially as the years advance and familiar routines become deeply rooted in our lives. These routines, like a well-worn path through the forest, offer a sense of comfort and stability. Yet the unknown often stirs unease. But here's a profound truth: change is not your enemy. It is a gateway to growth, renewal, and discovery. Reframing your mindset can transform how you perceive change. Instead of fixating on what you're leaving behind, shift your focus to what lies ahead, the opportunities, the potential joys, and the growth awaiting you. Downsizing your home, for instance, might initially feel like a loss. Yet, imagine the freedom it brings. Less keep, fewer responsibilities, and more time to explore hobbies, connect with loved ones, or simply enjoy life's simple pleasures. Trying something new, whether it's a class, a community group, or a creative pursuit, can lead to unexpected friendships and moments of joy. Each step into the unknown is a testament to your resilience and adaptability. Reflect on the changes you've already navigated in life, the transitions, challenges, and new beginnings. Each one shaped you, deepened your wisdom, and revealed your strength. Embracing change now is no different. It is simply another chapter in the remarkable story of your life. In Buddhism, there's a teaching about impermanence, the idea that everything is in a state of flux, constantly changing and evolving. By accepting this truth, you can approach change with a sense of curiosity rather than fear. Instead of resisting, lean into the possibilities it offers. What if this next chapter is the most fulfilling yet? Consider this. A caterpillar doesn't fear the transformation into a butterfly. It trusts the process, knowing it leads to a freer, more vibrant existence. Similarly, by welcoming change, you allow yourself to shed old limitations and step into the full potential of who you are meant to be. Picture yourself embracing change with open arms. Imagine the thrill of discovering new passions, the delight of meeting people who enrich your life, and the peace of knowing you have the courage to adapt and grow. Change, after all, is not an ending, it is a beginning. As you move forward, be gentle with yourself. Change is not about rushing into the new, but about unfolding at your own pace. Allow curiosity and confidence to guide you, and trust in your innate ability to thrive. This is your time to write a new chapter, one filled with adventure, joy, and profound self-discovery. Letting go is not about loss, it's about gaining clarity and peace. Each item you release, each toxic connection you step away from, and each unhealthy habit you shed creates space for joy and fulfillment. This is your time to live with intention, cherishing every moment and surrounding yourself with what truly nourishes your heart. Embrace simplicity, prioritize happiness, and step boldly into this beautiful chapter of life. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If this video resonated with you, please like, comment, and subscribe to Quiet Wisdom. Together, let's create a community of peace, reflection, and joy. Until next time, take care and stay inspired.